too. I don't know if this show's going to be very good because there's people working on their house over there. It's going to be kind of loud, probably. But I'll see how it goes. Play it by ear. That's what I mean. It's going to be kind of loud like that. Hopefully it's not that loud on the recording. Oops, I fucked that up. Hey, somebody's here. What's up, Phil? Nice to see you. Back on your old channel. I have a bunch of channels like that. I have a channel called Dr. Bass Upwards, and I can't get back into it. I don't know the email. I forgot the email for it. But I have another channel called Flatmate. Flatmate, and there's also The Blown Spokesman. The Blown Spokesman. I forgot about that channel. I should go back on that channel. I like being the blown spokesman. I used to be the spokesman at the speakeasy in Spokane. I used to be the spokesman at the speakeasy in Spokane. I spoke freely cause I can at the speakeasy in Spokane. I'm the damn spokesman. But then one night someone I don't like came along and my drink got spiked and I slurred my speech when I tried to speak. And they said, whoa, man, you can't speak like that in Spokane. Time to go home, man. And I was sad. So I grabbed my bag and I rode my bike back home that night. I forget how the rest of the story goes. But yeah, someone spiked the spokes in my bike. And I crashed. I was so trashed. I used to be the spokesman at the speakeasy in Spokane. But now I'm just kind of a blown out spokesman. I'm just a blown out spokesman. I don't know where I get this shit, man. Don't look at me. Don't ask me these questions. Where do I get this shit? I don't know. I'm an artist. I'm an artist by nature. See my art. I make this kind of art sometimes. And other times I do musical art. And then I just do life art. I have a lot of massive canvases too that like wouldn't fit in your car kind of thing. like this one right here. I'll show you. It's seen better days, but it's behind that. See that big piece right there? It's like fucking 15 feet long or something. I had that piece delivered. That's a piece of Lexan. It's like plexiglass, but it's more flexible. It doesn't break. And what I do is I paint on the back side of it. And so you look at the art from the front. So it's like reverse painting. I'm Dr. Bass Ackwards. I do everything. And I flip the script. That's what I do. So I paint in reverse. I'll paint on this clear piece of Lexan. It's like plexiglass, but it's flexible. It won't break. So I paint on the back side of it. So whatever I paint first is what's going to be shown first, because you're looking at the art on the other side. So typically when you're painting a canvas, it's like whatever you paint last is going to be in the forefront, but it's the other way around when you paint backwards like this. It's fun. And the Lexan, I was thinking about doing a YouTube channel where I show my method, because the Lexan comes with this protective plastic coating on the front and the back, and you peel it off after you get it in place if you're going to use it for a window or whatever, and it just keeps it from getting scratched, but the stuff it's adhered to it really well, and it peels off really easily too, but it's on there good. And so what I realized is, like, when I started, this was all my idea. I found it interesting that you could paint on this stuff and then like see the art. I just got into it. Nobody spurred me into doing that or anything. I just got into it, and it's like I started buying this Lexan, and I would cut with a razor blade. I'd cut the protective, because I didn't care if I was scratching the Lexan where I was going to be painting, because it didn't really matter, because if I'm painting it, see, I'll cut the shapes into the plastic, that I want to draw, and then I'll peel it off and paint just that part. And so the protective plastic acts as like a stencil almost, because you see, it's not, the paint's only going to go on the spot that I peel off, And so if you do it strategically, you can draw a picture like that way. You can, like, I made some, faces. Like, I would trace faces onto the Lexan, and then I would cut off the parts that I wanted to do, like the white part, and then I'd do the beige part or whatever, and then I'd do the black part for the hair, and so none of it's getting painted over, because, like, when you're painting like in a normal fashion forward, you have to cover the stuff that you've already painted when you're adding a new layer. But when you're doing it in reverse, like how I was doing it, this is why I got into the idea, because I'm like, oh, it's so cool. You don't have to worry about covering the stuff that you've already painted, because you're doing it backwards, because the protective plastic's still on there. So you just, whatever you peel off, you paint that. You don't have to worry about painting over what you've already painted, because you're doing it backwards. Whatever you paint first is what you see It's kind of hard to explain, but if you saw me, that's why I wanted to do a channel where I was just showing my technique and teaching people how to do it. Because it's fun, and I think people that are artists might get into, trying new methods of creating art. Today is the banging and chopping and sawing show. Pounding and chopping and banging and tearing the shit down. Yep, that's right, that's what the sound is. That's what they're doing over there. They're building a house, but if you're gonna tear down your house and build yourself a new one, here's one thing that you should know right here. You better leave one wall standing, that way it just is a remodel and not considered a rebuild, and that way you don't have to pay an arm and a leg just to get a permit. Oh shit, they'll charge you a small fortune just to say, okay, go ahead and build your house. It seems like a racket, and it is, but don't pack it up and quit just yet, 'cause there's always a loophole and a back door. And do you know what the back door's for? I'll tell you what that back door is for. Because the same assholes who make all these fucking laws we have to abide by also have to abide by them as well. And so they make a back door that they can slide through, and you can too if you know about it. That's why you should always make sure to leave one wall standing, cause then it's just a remodel. Just a helpful tip. Don't want to have to get a fucking expensive permit. Well, no shit, you can get around it. Just don't tear the whole thing down. I guess that's the. They're like, well, you still have one wall standing, so it's a remodel. It's fucking the whole house got torn down except for one wall, and that's a remodel. I think that's more like a loophole, is what that is. The back door. You gotta leave a back door in every fucking dumb, stupid ass fucking code, penal code you write. But you don't know about the back door unless somebody tells you about the back door. There's a back door over here. Sorry, that song sucked. I know. I scared away my audience. Oh, fuck my audience. They don't have a sense of humor. What's up, Mr. Slithers? Nice. I like Trump. I'm not as bad as Trump. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. What are you doing? What are you doing? You want to come over here and talk about some globe Earth? The globe Earth. I think it's pretty amazing, the globe model of Earth. Well, it seems like more of like a model of the sky, but people will insist that, of course, the Earth is a globe. We've known this for thousands of years. But I can't say that I really know it. I mean, I know that people think they know it, but I just, when I haven't witnessed it myself, you know, like, I know all the proofs and everything. I get it. I've been into the conversation for a while now, but like, you do have to like cut a flat earther some slack in the sense of like, well, we all interact with the earth as though we're flat. And you know, it's not like really that many people have ever had to worry about curvature. And if they did, it sucked because it's really hard to consistently measure it. Well, in fact, you can't really do that. I mean, people will think they're doing that, but then the next day they get a different measurement. And we're talking like long distance, you know, but then they want to say, oh, well, it's refraction. And it's like, yeah, but I don't know, man. Would it really make the Earth look flat with refraction? I mean, that's some of that shit's been debunked. Like the fucking whole story about how the Chicago skyline was a mirage or whatever. Fucking Rob Skibo went and fucking got the Chicago skyline in his viewfinder and sailed or went across it, went all the way across the lake, and the image never faltered. It was proving it wasn't a mirage. So that one was debunked. I mean, so it's like flat Earth gets some wins here and there, you know. That's what's so fascinating about it, because of course it seems fucking ridiculous when you first hear about it. But then when you start seeing them getting some wins like that, you're like, wait a minute. That was supposed to be a mirage, but it clearly wasn't. So now we got to rethink that whole bit. You shouldn't be able to see that much of the city from there. But they said the reason we were seeing it is because of a mirage or whatever, refraction. But then Rob Skiba went down there and sailed all the way across the lake with the fucking image in his viewfinder the whole fucking time. I've seen the video. It looks pretty real to me. Proving it wasn't a mirage. It was just line of sight visibility where, you know, people did the curvature math and it wasn't supposed to be, you weren't supposed to be able to see as much as you did see. Of course, people will argue that even, but like, you know, I've just seen like a consistent, like, wins with the flat Earth as far as like just long distance observations are concerned. Like with the the laser that was like parallel with the frozen lake for 40 fucking miles. 40 miles, there should be some curvature. I would think it would be a little bit, you would hit the target 40 miles away, parallel with a frozen lake. That should at least make people scratch their head, I mean, because that seems kind of like, isn't there supposed to be curvature? At 40 miles, maybe not that much, but some. I don't know. I forget what the curvature rate would be at that. It's 8 inches per mile squared. I guess is what we're supposed to do the math at. So what is that? Well, that's significant. It wouldn't be hitting a target. So yeah, I mean, I consider that more of a flat Earth win than a globe Earth win. Just that one observation is like, well, that's interesting. You just have to accept it as being interesting, at least, even if you're adamantly defending the globe. And for me, the reason I started taking it seriously is because I had this epiphany one day. I'm like, and I tried to ask you this, Slithery. I don't know if you ever answered my question, but it was like the question about how. I mean, this has to do with like real estate, I guess is what you could call it, or just the vast expanse of Earth. The idea that, like I said, if you draw a circle on the ground, can you draw a smaller circle around the outside of it? No, you can't. It's obvious. Everybody intuitively knows that. And so, does it matter how big of a circle you draw on the ground? I mean, it's the same idea. It scales out. You're never going to be able to make a smaller circle around the outside of another circle on the surface of the Earth, is what you would be led to believe, at least if, in this line of questioning. Whenever I ask anybody these questions, when it isn't like a flat Earth, debate or whatever, even when it is a flat Earth debate, I've caught people off guard with this, where it's like, I've had like people like Duffy and fucking Sean Hawkins and some of these other guys that are like adamantly against flat Earth. I've had them answer all the way down the line until I'm finally at the end of it. I'm just like, so the circles would just get bigger, right? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, just all the way out. They would just keep getting bigger. They would have to, right? Yeah, and they would agree with me all the way down the line. I'm like, well, welcome to flat Earth. And then they start changing their answer. Oh, wait a minute. Well, no. It's like, dude, you should pay attention to the questions then, man. Because like what you were doing is you were agreeing with me that the circles would just have to get bigger all the way out, which is what you would think. I mean, that's just what your intuitive understanding of what your interaction with Earth would be. I mean, like, it's only until you refer to the globe model where you start realizing, okay, the biggest circle I'm going to be able to make is at the median, and then that outward expanding perimeter is going to have to start to close back up, like around a different center location, like on the complete other end of the Earth from where you're standing now. So the circle that we couldn't make a smaller circle around the outside of eventually will get so big that it's at the median of the ball, and now it's going to have to start to get smaller. We would just be like, say, if we were starting at the north, it's like the equator would be the biggest circle, even though they say the equator is a straight line. But technically, if it's a ball Earth, then it's not really a straight line, but we're just looking at it from the 3D angle at that point. But see, the thing is, that's kind of like the key there, though. It's like they say the equator is a straight line, and maybe it's because the sun goes in a straight line over you at the equator, but like, obviously, if it was a straight line on a flat Earth, you would hit a wall or something, So the globe is convenient like that, where it's like you don't have to have like walls or like this infinite plane where like, the sun makes a cycle. So it's like it only goes so far before it's back over your head again. So that implies that there is kind of a limit here on Earth. Like the sun, you couldn't have like an infinite Earth with our system we have right here, because the sun only goes so far. So there's only so many square miles that the sun travels, and its light only extends so far, if we're talking about a flat Earth, and it's like, so there would have to be like a wall or enclosure. That's where people start talking about the dome and everything. I don't like to defend all that stuff because I don't have any. I mean, it's just more of like a logical discussion where it's like, well, there has to be a enclosure if there's air pressure or whatever, but all the same, we know that the air thins out as we go further up. I mean, it basically does, turn into like closer to like a low pressure system or whatever. The further up you get, there's less pressure. So, I mean, there is, we do understand how to create a pressure gradient by using acceleration. I mean, that's well understood already. However, it's not, it's not widely discussed really because, I mean, like anytime you get in your car and you step on the gas pedal, you're creating a pressure gradient. You're dense, you're pushed against the seat. The force is coming from behind you, so you're pushed into your seat. Anything buoyant in the car with you is going to be going the opposite direction. It's going to go towards the windshield, like a helium balloon would go towards the windshield. You'd go into your seat. You're creating a pressure gradient. The buoyant stuff is moving with the force, and the dense stuff is being pushed against where the force is coming from. It's going the other direction. That's a pressure gradient. Now, if you were to take that whole situation in the car and then just turn it like that, where the seat is the ground and the windshield is the sky, and there's acceleration happening. You're being pushed into the ground, and the helium balloon's going to the windshield. But the thing is, when in the example of the car, like there was an acceleration happening, and you were going somewhere. But in this pressure gradient we have here, it seems pretty crazy to think that we're accelerating up and going somewhere. I mean, that's kind of crazy. But it is a pressure gradient all the same. I mean, we do know how to create a pressure gradient by using an acceleration. It's intuitive, pretty much. Although I wasn't aware of the fact that the helium balloon would go towards the windshield when I stepped on the gas pedal. That was something I learned more recently. Like, really? That's what happened? I thought it would just get pulled back like everything else. But no, because it's buoyant. Yeah, Slithery. Oh yeah, he's just a shit talker. He's not a happy person. I didn't figure he'd be here long. And so, like, that's why, back to what I was saying, that's why I'm more like, I used to like laugh at the Uprising Earth conversation and or not laugh necessarily, but just think like, how in the hell do they believe that? I was trying to figure it out. I didn't understand it, but now I do understand what they're saying, and I'll actually go to bat for them now, like where people like diss them and call them a psyop and everything. I'm like, no, I'm not going to try to push the idea that the Earth is flying up at accelerating upwards at free fall speeds, but all the same, I mean, if we wanted to create a pressure gradient similar to what we have right here, we could do that by accelerating something. And that would be what the uprising Earth explains Earth as being, which is like, if there was an acceleration pushing us up, at free fall speeds, like the whole entire system, the sky, everything, the whole entire reference frame, it would create the same thing the effect that we know of as being gravity, where things seem to fall at a certain rate, and where the more dense stuff is pushed into where the force would be coming from, and the more buoyant stuff is going up against the windshield. That's the seat. So it's an interesting conversation. Once I finally realized what an accelerometer is actually doing, that's when I started thinking about it a little more. Because an accelerometer is just basically, it's a weight, and it's suspended in like in like a like a cube or like a box, where it's like, if you push on it, the weight is going to be pushed against whatever side of the box that it's in. The weight's going to be pushed against where the acceleration is coming from. So this weight's balanced here, and then you push it, and it's going to be pushed against, the weight's going to be pushed against where your hand is pushing it from. So it's going to give you a correct reading of the accelerations coming from this direction, because the weight's going to be pushed into it. It's a really basic device, and like, you can move it any direction. It's always going to show you which direction it's accelerating from, because the weight's pushed into that little sensor. And so, in the case where you drop the accelerometer, it's supposed to be accelerating at 9.8 meters per second squared towards the Earth. It's a rate of acceleration, they say. But when you drop it, the thing registers 0. That's when the weight doesn't touch any of the sensors. It's at rest. Or that's what the accelerometer is telling you while it's appearing to fall. It says, I'm at rest right now. There's no acceleration happening here. And then when it hits the ground, boom, the weight in that thing hits the lower sensor, the bottom sensor, and which gives you the acceleration coming from underneath it, the ground, moving up. So that's why it gives you upwards reading, because the weight pushes down on the lower sensor. So that then you would just have to think, well, is weight like dependent on acceleration? Well, think about if you got in an elevator that was just really powerful and the floor was at scale, and you were standing in the elevator and it started jamming you up super fast, and it just kept going faster and faster, like accelerating up. Your weight you would weigh more because you're pushing down on that scale harder now because you're being jammed up. Your weight's pushing into the scale. So you have a new weight now. Like if that elevator just kept accelerating you up like that, that would be your new weight. And you would eventually probably become accustomed to it, or I don't know. It might be harder to move around or something. But that's the thing. It's like the acceleration from under you is causing you to have a weight change. The pressure gradient would change a little bit, So it's not like the conversation of the uprising Earth doesn't have any merit. In my opinion, there's a lot of interesting stuff to think about there, but it's really hard to believe that the entire Earth system would be flying upwards for all existence. But like, really, I mean, it's I'm ready to accept anything these days. I'm just like, well, I feel like our cosmology has just been it's just a bunch of stories, and like, well, why can't we just start making up our own stories? Or why do we have to have a story? You just be enjoying this reality. There's no reason to bicker over it, that's for sure. And I don't think you're stupid if you don't believe a bunch of stories. Like, you have to go and see it for yourself to really believe it. If you're not busy witnessing it, you're just basically referring to these ideas. Well, why does the sun set? Well, we've already talked about all that stuff for 10 years. It doesn't. It doesn't set. I don't know, whatever. I was able to zoom in on it while I thought it was setting, and I brought it back into view. People tell me that that's impossible, but I went and did it, so it's not impossible. Anyways, you want me to play this thing or what? I think the first thing I asked about was like, what about all the planets and and space? My brother was like, well, are they really planets, or are they just stars in the sky that are moving around? I'm like, well, that's true. I never really saw the planet. It's like space has just pretty much been the thing you see on TV. And then you look at the night sky and you're assuming that you're looking for like trillions of miles, but you don't really know that's what you're doing. Now they claim to have sent the Parker probe or whatever it's called to the sun and gathered data from the corona or whatever. I don't understand how that could have worked. I mean, someone's got to explain that to me better, because isn't the sun supposed to be like, the main pole of gravity or whatever? It's like it's the sun is dragging all these planets like Earth and more, 8 more planets and moons and asteroid belts and what, it's pulling all that stuff towards it as it's flying. So isn't that like the main source of the gravitational effect that we're supposedly experiencing? Like, I would think the closer you get to the sun, the more likely you are to be pulled right into it and just incinerate. But this little Parker probe was able to go to the sun, not right to the sun, but a lot closer, and gather data. But like, how in the fuck are they control? I mean, this little thing, I would figure it would have been just pulled right in. The gravity's so strong, but it had enough thrust to get out of there and without getting hurt. It had a heat shield. Those NASA heat shields work miracles, I swear. The guys coming back from the moon, they're like entering the atmosphere. We got a heat shield. Everything else burns up upon entry, but the heat shield doesn't. Going like 25,000 miles an hour. Like, put on the brakes. better slow down a little bit before we release the parachutes. like thousands of miles per hour. The parachutes just like rip. They'd be gone, just shredded. Oh, we should have slowed down a little bit. Dang it. Just come careening into the ocean. The chutes didn't open. Well, they did, but they just got shredded off in a matter of seconds. But no, I don't babble like Trump. What an offending thing to say, Slithery. I'm not that vain, am I? The greater good is neither good nor great. All they had was bad and a bigger hate. What they create, some people think is their fate. And I guess for them it's way too late to try to turn back the tidal wave that is heading our way. Try to turn back the tidal wave that is heading our way. The things I say, it sound insane, someday will come to pass. Until that day, they'll be laughing away. But we will see who's laughing last. Although I know that he who laughs last, he will be laughing alone. And I know that he who laughs last, he will be laughing alone. I will be laughing alone. Hopefully someday they will see. Carefully we who see must plant the seed. Hopefully someday they will see. Carefully we who see must plant the seed. Hopefully someday they will see. And I know that he who laughs last, he will be laughing alone. And I know that he who laughs last, he will be laughing alone. Carefully, carefully, we see must plant the seeds. Hopefully someday they will see. I think that sounds right. I don't know. Still trying to work on that song. With all these nail guns and drilling and chopping and sawing, it's kind of annoying. Keep it flat. That's right. I've been tripping on the analemma a lot lately. And the ephemeral. The ephemeral is the same thing with the moon, though. It's the same shape. It's like the figure 8. You get the smaller loop and the bigger loop. and it's location dependent. Like that's what I didn't realize before. I've learned that more recently, where it's like wherever you're at, like if you're in the north and you do an analemma, it's the sun's position throughout the whole year. Like you go out and you take note of where the sun's at every day at the same time for an entire year, and you'll end up with a figure eight. You'll have the smaller loop in the, like if you're in the north, the smaller loop will be in the north, and you'll see the bigger loop in the south. But if you're in the south, you'll see the smaller loop in the south and the bigger loop in the north. It's vice versa. So you're seeing the smaller loop wherever you're in the hemisphere or whatever the region that you're in. But the thing is, it's like at the equator, the analemma is like an infinity symbol. It's even on both sides. It's equal equator, you know. And I just find it fascinating. It's like we can see by the analemma that pretty much what happens in the north happens in the south. I mean, that's what it seems to be showing us. And there's a lot of debate still within the flat Earth community or whatever that there's no 24-hour sun in the south, and it's really an interesting topic. I mean, because it's pretty obvious that the days get longer the further south you go this time of year, or during the winter in the north. The days get longer the further south you go, and at the point where you're in like Punta Arenas, the sun's in the sky for 17 and a half hours. And so it would just be in the sky even longer the further south you get from there. So you kind of have to start accepting the idea that maybe there is a 24-hour sun in the south. And that's what the analemma, I mean, it's like, I don't, see what's the analemma, it's a figure eight, you know, like, let's just say you're at the equator, and you have like an infinity symbol, it's even on both sides. So that's the course of the sun for a year, but like each day the sun's making a circuit. So you could take each one of those 365 dots on that infinity symbol, and then and then draw somehow draw the circuit the sun is making that particular day, and somehow factor that into the picture. I think that would be an awesome image to somehow achieve, because it would be the 365 dots of the analemma, and then each dot would have its daily sun circuit, you know, attached to it, and so it would look like this infinity symbol with a bunch of rings going all around it, you know. Wouldn't that be neat? So we got to do that. I lost my audience. I do that a lot. I'm good at losing my audience. Sorry, I'm so boring. I'm not really feeling it right now, I guess. I get all excited, and I'm like, I'm going to do a stream and talk about a bunch of stuff, and I start, and I'm like, I don't even know what I was going to talk about. And I'll get like a flat earth troll in my comments, and I'm like, oh, cool, let's talk about flat earth. But they're just there to start shit, though. They don't really want to discuss in good faith the fact that an outward expanding perimeter should just keep expanding wider and wider and wider. That just seems so obvious. It's just what would happen. You have a circular piece of property and you go by and you expand it evenly in every direction, it's just going to get bigger. As long as there's more earth to expand into, that property line is just going to get bigger. It's just going to grow. You're always adding, never subtracting. Your circular piece of property would expand evenly, indefinitely, until you ran out of room to expand into. Why wouldn't it? If there's more earth to expand into, there's more property for you to acquire. So you're just going to keep expanding evenly in every direction. Your property will only get bigger, and you mark your property by putting a perimeter around it. So that circle, your property is going to stay the shape of a circle because you're expanding evenly in every direction. It's just going to grow. It's just going to get wider. You're always adding, never subtracting. How are you going to see any other result? It's just going to widen, wider and wider. As long as there's more earth to expand into, you would just keep expanding evenly in every direction until you ran out of room. But we're supposed to believe that, you know, at a certain point, a circular piece of property would get so big that it's the size of the median of the globe Earth, which is like 25,000, you know, miles around or whatever. That would be as big as of a property that you can get that's in the shape of a circle. And then that property, even if you kept acquiring more, the circle would start to shrink because you're just closing in around the area that you don't own yet. But that's where my mind would warp, because how are you going to put a smaller perimeter around something? It doesn't make any sense. And it's because we'll be all sideways and upside down, and living on a 3D surface is something that nobody really has thought through to that extent. Because after you pass the median, your circle has to start shrinking, even though it was expanding all the way out until the right then. You know, it's like because you're just on a flat plane while you're busy doing this, expanding your property evenly in every direction. Once you finally reach the median, there's still more earth to expand into. You know, because you're just seeing it like this. You're not seeing it like as if you were looking at a big ball, or you're seeing it like this. If there's more earth to expand into, you would think to yourself, well, it's just going to keep expanding. But no, no, because you're on a globe. So now you can expand, but now your property line is going to start to shrink. Does that make sense in reality? It only makes sense on the model. It doesn't make sense in reality. We're talking real estate. You know, that's different than a model. People can demonstrate what I'm asking on a model. That's the whole reason I thought of this. Because I'm like, oh, that's trippy, because the latitude lines are circles. And so I was just thinking about, like, what if if somebody had to go mark the latitude circles, they would start at the north and start, you know, circling out. And you're just going around the outside of each, you know, you make a circle, and then you go 69 miles south, make another circle, and you just keep doing that. That makes sense. But then I was thinking, when you get down to the equator, and now you go another 69 miles and make your next circle around the outside of that last circle you made, it's going to be smaller, even though you it's just, that's the part where you're supposed to be sideways or upside down or something, but you're not, though. Just in reference to where you started, apparently. But like, that's where it gets tricky, because living on the 3D surface like that, there's certain things that would have to happen that people wouldn't ever expect. If you went about making concentric circles on the face of the earth, there would never come a time when somebody thought you were going to start making a smaller circle. Because you see how much more area you're adding every time. And you're thinking to yourself, well, I can't add all that area and have a smaller circle around it. That's never going to make any sense. Like, if you're buying more property, why would you have a smaller property line? That would never occur to anybody, unless they're busy looking at their toy model globe on their desk. So it's in that case, in that instance that I've talked about a lot, it's like the only reason that people can't see the significance of why I'm mentioning that is because they're so programmed to think the earth is a ball. They just think, oh, well, no, that's what would happen. I'm like, yeah, on a ball, but think about it in reality. Like, how does that make any sense? I say that if there's a circle, you can't draw a smaller circle around the outside of it. We're talking about the surface of the earth. And it's just like, you can't, I mean, I can demonstrate what I'm talking about, but, you know, you have to refer to it like a toy model to demonstrate what you're talking about. And of course, it's such a big distance that nobody's ever really going to go out and do. Like, you would have to go mark the latitude circles, all of them, on the surface of the earth to debunk what I'm saying. When in reality, what those circles are, we're just talking about the sun. I mean, why can't we just have a bipolar sky with a flat plane? I mean, why can't we just have that? I mean, is that what? I mean, the globe is neat and tidy for a lot of reasons, but there is a lot of things about it that are just ridiculous. The elusive curvature and motion. You can't measure either of them in any consistent, meaningful way. I mean, we obviously don't feel the motion. Well, other than what I was saying earlier, our weight can be considered feeling the motion. But we're not ready for that one yet. I still am not ready for that one yet. I'm like, dude, accelerating upwards, I mean, through what? I mean, it just makes you want to ask more questions. Through heaven, through a big, huge waters above, waters below, like an air bubble floating up to the surface that we never reach. What a strange reality this is all I want to say. But I don't believe anyone's ever left Earth. The people that claim to have done so lied. And that's been proven to my standards, at least. But the moon landing missions, it was an elaborate, I mean, they went over a lot of nitty-gritty details. I've been recently looking into how they were allegedly breathing the whole time. Like, how they brought 6 days worth of oxygen, or how they brought 6 days worth of air to breathe for all three astronauts, and all the deep, they depressurized, several times. They had to go do a spacewalk. They had to, get out and take the limb down, and they had to get out of the limb, and they depressurized numerous times, and they had to get in their spacesuits, but they brought liquid oxygen apparently, and they had machines that you know turned it into breathable air, so they could bring, because they wouldn't have been able to bring it any other way, because they wouldn't have had enough room for all of those tanks of oxygen. They brought liquid oxygen, and then they had to machines turn it into air. But if you breathe pure oxygen for 6 days, you'll die. You won't even make it 6 days. So what they claimed they did was they breathed oxygen at a really low pressure, so there wasn't that much of it. I don't know. I mean, I'm just like, really? I mean, that's one of those stories I just have to accept on faith, because I didn't know that you could do that. Breathe oxygen at a really low pressure and nothing else. That's all you had to breathe for 6 days. Just really low pressure oxygen. I'd panic. I mean, what? Does anybody else know anything else about that? I mean, I'm assuming they must have done some science, to be able to make a claim like that. But I don't think they really went to the moon or anything. But I'm just saying, it's like, that's their story for how they managed to survive breathing pure oxygen for 6 days straight, is that it was at a really low pressure. And so not much of it was getting into their, because that's what happened. Like, if you went to the oxygen bar, and breathed pure oxygen for you wouldn't even make it 6 days. You'd die before that. Like, that's well known. But the thing is, if it's at a really low pressure, but there's no other air they were breathing, it was just really low pressure. I mean, that seems like, it makes me get all short of breath just thinking about it. I'm like, damn, that's kind of crazy. That's all they had. Really low pressure oxygen. Fuck that. For 6 days. I don't know that makes any sense, really. I want to know more about that. They must have done some experiments where they could prove that that's possible before making a claim like that, I would think. But some of their claims are so bold, and it's like, they just, well, it's a claim that some of their claims you'd have to go try to do it yourself or whatever to prove them wrong. I mean, who's going to breathe a low pressure oxygen for 6 days straight? I'm not going to. But that's all the air they had to breathe. It was just a low pressure oxygen for 6 days straight. And they brought enough liquid oxygen to make that happen. I think that's crazy talk. I don't think it's true. But every little aspect of the moon landing, they went over. They have an answer for everything. Well, like, why does the spaceship look like it's made out of construction paper and curtain rods and tinfoil and duct tape? Well, because we had to. They start trying to explain it. I'm sorry, dude. It just looks terrible. Way back in the early 1970s, we made one of the greatest scientific discoveries when we sent our bravest men up to the moon to find out what the moon is all about, and we were quite surprised to find the golf course in the sky. They said it must have been a golf course of home. They were quite amazed, so they brought their golf clubs up there and teed off on the moon. And they got in their little golf cart and rode off to the next hole. And they stuck their little flag in the ground, and then they called the president from the golf course payphone and said, "Hey, there, Nixon, what do you think about this golf course in the sky?" They said it must have been a golf course his whole time. He said, "I'm proud of you boys, now play a good game of a home. No one's ever been to the moon. There ain't no golf course in the sky. Oh, you fool. No one's ever been to the moon. 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 I don't think it's a place you can go. Kinda like going to the rainbow. It goes with you. You never tried. And the funny thing about a rainbow is that the rainbow disappears. And so does the moon. No one's going anywhere anytime soon. No one's ever been, no one's ever been to the moon. There ain't no golf course in the sky. It's getting kind of annoying out here. Hey, thanks. Greetings from Germany, right on. Yeah, what do I know? Yeah, I feel the same way, man. Indonesia, what's up? Right on, you guys. Well, I'm gonna duck out here. I'll be back on later. Make sure to like, sub, and share, or don't if you don't feel like it. Later.